Hey puppy people, Jude the puppy nanny here. Now that you've got a bit of a pattern underway with potty training, and I do hope it's going well for you, we're ready to begin to train your puppy to sit and to stay. The stay, of course, will be quite short at this point, but we do want to get underway. And we're going to use the show and tell 4-step pattern. So, sit is basic. It's easy to train, and it's super useful. It's really the basis of all obedience training. I don't like the term obedience training, but you know what I mean. It truly is that. It's when we want our puppies to do certain things, and we train them to do them. We expect them to be obedient. So the show, first of all, you're going to hold a treat between your thumb and your forefinger. And you're going to place the treat holding fingers right at Puppy's nose. So I'm going to pretend that this hand is the puppy and this is his nose. So I'm going to place my treat holding fingers right here, and I'm going to move. I'm going to tip my puppy like this. I'm going to move the fingers slowly back between Puppy's eyes to the top of his head. And as I do, because he'll be putting his nose back to smell the treat, his bum will drop to the floor and your pup is in a sit. So you're going to do that 3 to 5 times without saying anything. You're just doing it. And then in the next session, as you show him the treat, you say, Rover or Pup or whatever his name is, sit. And you do the same thing. You put the treat near his nose, and when his bum hits the floor, or even close, give him the treat. I say even close because for some of the very large breeds, the puppies are very big too. So this folding up into a neat little package to get a bum on the floor doesn't always quite happen. But if it's in the right direction, reward him. And if you're working with a very small puppy, you might want to put that puppy on a couch or a bench or something, because it's very hard for us to tell, or even sit on the floor with him. Hard for us to tell when that tiny little bum hits the floor. It's already pretty close. And so you're going to then praise him when his bum hits the floor, and then you're going to reward him immediately that he sits. You're going to praise him every single time, and you're going to always release him. That becomes more important when we get to stay. So we just want to get into the habit of always releasing a pup when we're asking him to do something, and when we're all done, we want to let him know that he's all done. And of course then, just like ourselves, when we're learning something new, we must repeat, repeat, and repeat it. I can speak to that firsthand. I'm sure you can too. I've spent a lot of time learning some techie stuff on the computer, and I can tell you, if I learn it today and I don't do it tomorrow, I've forgotten it. And you know, puppies are just like that. The more you repeat it, the more it becomes installed in them, so that they get it. So don't hesitate to repeat it all throughout the day, just randomly. Just ask him to sit, and have him sit in a variety of places in your home, which of course won't be too many at this point, because if you're following instructions, then your pup doesn't get much beyond the kitchen. He has his confinement area, and the kitchen probably doesn't get very far else. But you can certainly ask him to sit outside as well. So you practice this regularly, randomly, and often. And remember at this point to always have tiny treats in your pocket, so that you're always ready to reward him for a sit. You're also ready to reward him for peeing outside, right? So use all the opportunities to have puppies sit. For example, if you're coming back in the house and you know you've got an empty puppy, ask him to sit while you at least reach for the door knob. He may not stay long enough for you to open the door, but at least get him to sit. If you withhold the treat for a second, that's the beginning of stay. We'll get to that in a minute. And after you've repeated the sit and reward with a treat 10 or 12 times, meaning that he gets a treat for every single sit, then you want to start making them random and intermittent. You're never going to stop rewarding your dog for doing good things. We like to do that anyway. But you don't want to have a dog that will only do as you ask when you have treats. So now he has to do something special for the treat. He has to sit faster. He has to sit straighter. You can decide whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to set the bar very high. You just want to make those treats random. and intermittent. And here are the hand signals. So you begin with your treat held between your thumb and your forefingers, and then you move that hand down so that it's beside your thigh, so that the movement for a sit is a movement upwards. Palm is facing up, although it's holding treats. So it's an upward motion. And then you can start by holding the treat in your other hand and using an open palm moving upward. And that is actually the hand signal for sit. Now you've got your puppy to sit. Now we want him to stay. And many people say that you don't need to train a puppy to stay or to give him the word for stay, because it's understood that if you ask him to sit, he must stay until you release him. I don't know if it's for me or for the puppy, but I personally like to train stay as a reinforcement, and this is how I do it. I just use an open palm in front of and fairly close to Pup's nose, just as you see in the picture. And you can also use your hand like that, like the policeman's signal. And when your pup is in a sit, you just start as you did with the sit, and you put your hand there. You don't say anything. He's never seen this before, so it's entirely possible that he'll kind of lunge forward or think doesn't know what it means. Although, because dogs are so intuitive about reading body language, he would see that as a barrier. So he probably won't move. And if he does, you just go and ask him to sit again. After you've done that 3 or 4 times, then you can do just as you've done before. You can tell him. So you're going to add the word stay. So you're going to have him in a sit, and then you're going to put your hand there and you're going to say, Rover, stay, just as Anne is doing in this picture with young Percy. And believe me, that young pup worked under pretty heavy distractions that day, as she had a friend visiting with a dog who was bouncing around and barking, and Percy just stayed. He wasn't very old either. So the reward for stay is the release, because now he's free to go. So you can use whatever phrase that comes easily to you and your family. You can say, okay, all done, finished, go play, break, whatever word. It doesn't matter, but you need to agree that you're all going to use the same word to release the pup anytime you're finished training him. And so what you do when you have him in a stay, you just gradually increase the length of time. And I mean gradually. You're going to start with about 2 seconds. And if you don't know how long 2 seconds is, I'll steal one of Ian Dunbar's phrases. And he always says, 1 good pup, 2 good pup. That's 2 seconds. And that's a good way to start. And then you will gradually add seconds. And it's really a good idea to just add them gradually, because we humans have this tendency, and I've seen it so often in the families that I work with, we want to go from 0 to 10. Boom! Doesn't work that way. You will have your dog stay for 2 seconds, and then you think, oh, I'm going to try for 10. Well, probably after 4 or 5, he'll break. And so now he has failed. I hate that word too. But so you don't want him ever to do that. You want to always set him up for success. So add the seconds, 1 or 2 at a time. Yes, it takes a little longer to get to 10 seconds, 20, 30. But if you get it installed solidly right here at the very beginning, the payoff will be huge, because he will understand the word so much better. And then, of course, like with anything you're trying to learn yourself or you're trying to teach someone else, you must repeat, and repeat. So you use your daily activities to ask for a sit and a stay. Not for very long, remember, because you're still working with a very young puppy, but do it often. Use it at meal times. Ask him to sit and stay while you put his dinner bowl on the floor. If you're going to put his collar on or take it off, or his leash going on and coming off, just first ask him to sit. And yes, you might have to ask him 3 or 4 times, because he'll sit and he'll bounce up, sit and bounce up. But be persistent. That too will pay off. And you can ask him to sit before going through a doorway, especially when you're coming in from outdoors after he's peed, so that you probably don't want to try that on the way out, because you might be the cause of an accident. But do it on the way back in. So that's the pattern. You show, using hand signals. You tell, which is adding the verbal cue or the word, puppy sit. And then you reward with the treat and with praise and release. And then you repeat, repeat, repeat. That's the 4-step pattern. It's fun, it's easy, and all the training tips that I talk about can be in your hands at one time. If you buy my book, The Puppy Nanny's Guide to Training Your Puppy, you can grab your copy at amazon.ca or .com, or you can get it at judethepuppynanny.com. And it comes in 2 formats, the paperback, which kind of neat if you want to have it around on your bookshelf and you want to mark it up and flag it and highlight it, which is the kind of thing I like to do, especially for training manuals. And that's for $14.99. And if you want the ebook version, it's $4.99. So there you have it. You have now moved on to sit and stay. We're moving along. And you know, the one thing, that's it for today, but the one thing I always say to you when you're working with your puppy, the most important thing of all, is to have fun. That's it. Roof!